All right, we're back another Sunday live on our Black Media Network with the political spectrum. How's it going for you, Clinton?
Doing pretty good. It's a lazy Sunday.
I tell you, it is a nice one. It's kind of interesting. We're getting closer to the May election, which is the primaries for some and the final for others.
Yep.
Um, what are your thoughts about election season just overall?
I think that we're going to see some repeat contenders who we see in the majority of the state elections. And I think as far as federal begins to unfold, I think it's going to be a circus.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I it's interesting because a number of members in the House, I don't think will be seeking reelection. You see a handful of senators at the federal level not seeking reelection, and so that's quite interesting.
I think that's a good thing. I'm sorry, but Mitch McConnell should have retired years ago, and a lot
Yeah,
of them should have retired years ago.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Holding office to the point to where you can barely function is ridiculous.
Well, it's at that point it no longer becomes about serving for the right purpose. It becomes about the power and the authority that you can wield, or the deals you can make, and the things like that. I mean, it's no secret that if you have access to certain privileges that come from being in office, that you would likely indulge in that if it's ethical. But it's what people do. It is what it is.
Yeah, you would think practical sense would come into play
Yeah,
where anyone sitting in Congress has reached a point to where they can barely function physically or mentally. Their health is that declined. I'm sorry, but they should be examined as unfit, by a doctor.
yeah,
And no, I'm not trying to discriminate against the disabled or the handicapped. I'm,
right,
you
right.
know, I'm trying to discriminate towards people that can't even do the job mentally anymore.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. Another interesting piece I saw is I don't know if it was one of the Koch brothers or one of the influential folks that basically have called on the Republican Party to get behind Trump and to support him. To be the party of ethics, morality, or whatever you want to call it, and then to say we're going to stand by. I have the one thing I will say is there is a lot of hate thrown towards Trump, but there's also some things that he's allowed to get away with that I think need to be checked. And so I'm not saying he's all bad. I'm not saying he's all good, but there are some ethical questions that are out there, especially around finances and all of that. And so I
Well,
question, do you really want to get behind them, or what is that about?
the finances, a lot of it's smoke and mirrors. Technically, although he bent the law, he never broke it. But if you want to talk about unethical, when he was president, and I hardly hear this mentioned, he abused eminent domain. And no
Yeah.
one says anything about it. Why? Because not only do the Republicans don't want to lose their power in utilizing eminent domain, the Democrats don't want to lose their power in abusing eminent domain. But both parties have abused eminent domain law.
Yeah. Which is a great segue to something you and I have seen locally, well, not locally, but statewide. We do know that Ron Stevens, a legislator right here locally to us, authored a bill to basically give eminent domain to the convention center, the Savannah Convention Center, which to me is kind of uh, excessive. I think
Yeah, I think
that bothers me because A, how did we get there, and B, who are you friends with, Ron, that created this concept, because that's quite dangerous.
I think it's wrong, and here's why I think it's wrong. We already have issues with the federal government doing this. Now we gotta worry about we gotta worry about local government
Yeah.
seizing people's land. I mean, when is it going to end? Is it going to end at a point where the average citizen no longer has any rights to private
Hmm.
property? I mean, this is just too far. In my opinion, this is an overreach.
Yeah. Nah, I totally get it. It's almost like, if I own, let's say, a strong economic um presence facility here in the city or anywhere locally in this region, that what about the Hyundai plant? Will they be given the same opportunity? You
I mean,
know that's honestly that's what happened with the Hyundai plant. From my understanding, is that you know
Congress is working on privatizing their own water system to where they don't have to pay taxes in the city for water.
no, yeah,
No one's saying a word about that. Okay, well, if the Hyundai plant gets to do that, why can't people in the city who can come up with the money in their neighborhood make their own private water system?
yeah.
If they tried that, the city would be up in arms. But if Hyundai does it, oh, that's perfectly okay. That's a double standard. It really gets under my skin.
Yeah, no, and it is. Honestly, the thing now, you had Governor Kemp basically, saw the opportunity, because my understanding, I was talking to some folks and it was supposed to be in Sylvania and Screven County. They were like, no, we're not interested. So now you place it on the border of Bullock, Chatham, and Effingham, and it has become an issue with residents, as you said, because now they're tapping into their water system. In that area, they use wells. And so that one organization, Hyundai, is going to be utilizing more water than already is consumed by the current residents. So it's become a dangerous and interesting situation.
Well, it's overdeveloping, and it's developing too fast without hitting the brakes and considering how it affects everyone around them.
Mhm.
They don't care if it harms the residents. And their workforce, oh, there's jobs. They're not jobs coming to Savannah. You're importing your workforce while you put up job postings on every career center online, but yet you never hire people that are from Savannah with the excuse, well, we're not trained. Excuse me, but most of the employees that you hire in entry level, you train. Why can't you hire people born and raised in Savannah and train them? Because you don't want to. You want to bring in your already trained workforce and then
Right.
play innocent while you completely promote unification.
Yeah. No, that's a fear. Not to be pessimistic, but that is a fear that I have in thinking about that, because we all know that, of course, some opportunities will be created for local residents. However, there's going to be a strong number of individuals that Hyundai will transition to this community,
And,
which is a part of why we have an increase in cost of living.
and the people that are already here will not be able to afford it unless they're fortunate enough to get a job with Hyundai, which I severely doubt. And they'll have no choice but take what little money they have left and move because
Right.
they won't be able to survive where they are.
Well, and ideally, this is, this region, it interests me how our local politicians either don't understand what I'm about to say, or they just fail to want to recognize it. We are and really right at the brink of becoming the next Atlanta metropolitan, Dallas metroplex kind of a concept. And so what I mean by that is we now have to look at things as a multi-county perspective. And so all that will become now is down the Bryan counties are going to be evolved, and is that the better place to live? Or Screven County will evolve. Liberty County will continue to evolve and grow. And so that's kind of where people might be pushed out because things will be more affordable.
Well,
Chatham County now has become the Fulton County of the South, right? If we could. And so around it is, I even look at, and I've said this before, why don't we start developing an infrastructure that will allow for local multi-county rail?
because they don't care. Okay, they're so enamored with corporate or businesses from other cities or states, they're not looking at the potential that's right under their nose with local business owners.
Mm,
By simply supporting local business owners, we compete with the bigger businesses and corporations that are out of city or out of state. But they don't have the patience or the insight or vision to put forth the investment into the businesses that are homegrown right here.
yeah. Well said. Well said. Speaking of that, talk about investing in businesses and looking at, this $1.2 trillion that Congress just approved.
Uh,
I am so completely lost with the Congress that we have right now. We have gotten well. Hold on. We've gotten away from we the people and protecting the people of this United States, and we've become more enamored with international relations, helping others. And there are nothing in this bill helps out small businesses, homeless, hungry, or those less fortunate.
There's so much pork in the bill that we don't even know about because our representatives didn't even read the entire bill. They didn't even give themselves time to read it. They just loaded it right in.
Right.
We have no clue what pork's in there. And what irritates me more than anything, there's an old saying, take care of yourself first. If you can't take care of yourself, you definitely can't take care of others.
Yeah. Yeah.
We learned this in basic undergrad for all those that might go beyond high school. There's
right.
hierarchy of pyramid. Survival should come first. Everything else last. If you can't feed, house, and clothe yourself, you don't need to be helping your neighbor, especially a neighbor across the sea. That's just idiocy.
Yeah, I am just very disappointed in the Congress that we have now. I don't even think they know what's going on. And let me play this clip because after we talk about this, I want to bring in one leader. I don't even call her a leader. She's an idiot and a disgrace to Georgia. But we're going to talk about Majorie Green Taylor, who's quite lost her mind. But let's talk about this. Finish up this bill first.
All right.
I'm going to play this clip.
Is agreed to.
Congress overwhelmingly passed a $1.2 trillion budget bill to avert a partial government shutdown, keeping key federal agencies funded through a fiscal year that began 6 months ago. President Joe Biden signed it into law after the Democratic majority Senate passed the bill in the early hours of Saturday. Its passage means federal agencies, including the Departments of Defense, Homeland Security, Justice, State, and Treasury, will remain funded through September 30th.
It is a complete departure of all of our principles.
After the Republican-led House of Representatives passed the bill on Friday, hardline conservative Congresswoman Majorie Taylor Greene threatened to force a vote to remove Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson for allowing the measure to advance. Johnson, as he has done more than 60 times since taking over from his ousted predecessor Kevin McCarthy, relied on a parliamentary maneuver to bypass the Republican hardliners, which required support from Democrats. Greene's threat had echoes of October when a small band of hardliners engineered a vote that removed McCarthy for also relying on Democrats to pass a stopgap measure to avert another partial government shutdown. Some Democrats said they would vote to keep Johnson if he were to call a vote on the $95 billion security assistance package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, which has already been approved by the Senate. So far, Johnson has ignored it. That measure is unlikely to come up anytime soon as lawmakers.
So you mean to tell me another bill down the road looks at how much? Oh, we have lost our minds. When are we going to? And it's
Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine, and
right.
we don't have money to feed ourselves. This is stupidity, absolute stupidity.
Yeah. No, I think, and this goes for all members of Congress. Every last one of them who fails to recognize the needs in their backyard needs to be replaced. And I don't hear many of them talking about it. Now, I will give the President Biden, his pat on the back for infrastructure. That infrastructure bill was well deserved, well needed. We do a poor job locally of dealing with infrastructure.
Well, what I'm working is the port that's inside that has nothing to do with infrastructure.
No, I'm talking about before we got here.
Yeah, I know.
Before we got here. But we've got to start really see, this is the problem we have, and this is how the electorate works for the most part. We've got to stop just voting for people because we think they're doing a good job, or because they're our friends, or they somebody's however your relationship is. We got to start voting on things that are impacting community. We are so individualistically driven that as long as I'm okay in my home, I don't think about the person a block away. We got to change that mindset.
Well, also, we need to stop with the identity politics and look at the money and look how little money we have left.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're a majority or a minority. The money is running out. And pretty soon, the unemployment is going to rise even more than it already is. Homeless rates are going to rise even greater than what they are right now.
Right.
And the only people that will survive are the 1%. And all they keep doing is pitting us against each other over redundant cultural issues
Right.
that might be exciting to talk about and debate right now, but at the end of the day, when you have no food on your table, you're not going to really care. You're going to be too hungry to care.
Or guess what happens then? You know, when poverty rises, so does crime. And so
Right.
guess what? I'm going to eat. So how am I going to eat? I'm going to rob you. I'm going to take you out. That's just this is a it's called to me it's a different type of ecosystem. But we don't seem to have people, you know, back in the day, and I would say maybe Reagan's time and before, they were a little more sensible in how they approach lawmaking. Now we just got individuals who are darn right selfish, which leads me to Marjorie Green, idiot Taylor.
Well,
She's just an idiot. She clearly, number one, she's not a leader, and she doesn't understand government. She's just a whiny old
yeah, but
crappy person who's embarrassing Georgia.
she's one of the many pawns. What about all the people behind her? You know, we're ignoring them. They may not make an impact, you know, on camera, but
Right.
what about all the Republicans and the Democrats that are voting with the foolish things that she
Yeah.
proposes? See, what we do is we single out the biggest loudmouth, and we ignore all the people who have a voting record of following them or doing the same thing that they're doing. What we need to do is we need to focus on pulling most of our money back from all the outside parties we're giving it to. We
Yeah.
need to work on drainage. We need to work on lowering taxes. We need to work on opening up a lot of capitalistic ventures by eliminating regulations, eliminating a lot of useless permits so people can hire more employees and it can grow their business. We also need to stop the reevaluation of local real estate and just so we can raise taxes. People can barely buy groceries now. I mean, I'm looking at the grocery prices and I can barely realize what I'm looking at. But
Yeah.
we need to just start pulling back on everything. We can't be the police of the world.
Right.
Worry about our own backyard. We need to stop focusing on transgender activities that are in the local school systems below the age of 18. Yeah, that's a problem. But right now, that's a parental and cultural problem. We need to focus on the money. We need to focus on lowering the price of the taxes. And we need to focus on spending the money that we do collect in revenue on things people need.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that. We just wasted billions of dollars on an Inmark arena. It's only generating a couple hundred million when we spent billions on it.
And for our watchers around the world, what's the Inmark Arena? If you give a little context for them.
Yeah. And
Clinton, if you could give a little context, we have viewers literally around the world. If you could tell them what the Inmark Arena is and kind of attach the context to the idea.
Okay, we spent millions of dollars to build an Inmark arena to attract hockey, a bunch of other sports, but more importantly, celebrities, musicians, etc. Okay, good idea. Why not remove the regulations to allow a private business to do that, rather than taking the taxpayer dollars of the people who are barely making it and using their money to make the Inmark arena? No, you should let private industry do it. That way they would gain money potential. They would hire people because they want to make more money off of their investment. Well, what did we do? We took taxpayers' money. We took people's money and we built the Inmark arena. That was wrong. That was wrong. That's a private sector thing to do. Sorry.
No, that it is what it is. It is what it is. We
And
we got to do better. We've got to do better all the way around. It's one of the reasons why I get kind of aggravated with the Buddy Carters of the world and you know, a number of these legislatures and as well as Ossoff and Warnock. You know, I'm equally critical of them as well because we are at a place where we're not looking at a bigger picture. I'll even look at, to add to your list, the voting rights bill. we've kind of lost steam behind that. And we just got to start what you said. We've got to focus on things that matter and not on TikTok. For God's sakes, who gives a damn?
Not to mention, if we had utilized taxpayers' revenue on what we were supposed to, we wouldn't have to introduce a splash program every couple of years. The next one they'll probably introduce will be in a year, and I think it'll be the 7th or 8th splash program. Enough with the penny tax. You were supposed to use the regular tax revenue to do this and to do that. You don't make another program to do what the basic revenue was meant to do. Then we give away, how many millions did we give away to the owners of the parking lot that we leased from?
Yeah.
That was meant for the people, not to give back to the people that were leasing the land from that we built it in Margarita on.
Yeah. The bottom line is we've got to start electing people who are talking about things that matter to a broader perspective. And so, the silliness around TikTok, the silliness around, making sure we give somebody a certificate. We've got to start focusing on human beings and what's the quality of life of human beings. And I think we've lost all aspect of that for the sake of power, clout, and just sheer selfishness. And so I'm hoping that we and everybody watching, that we start voting on stuff that matters and stop thinking about stuff that just really don't do much for anybody.
We're more concerned about pandering. I'll give you an example. Right now, we're making deals with technology companies to create Savannah, to make Savannah a smart city. That's known for surveillance everywhere. And then we turn around on the other shoe and go, oh, well, we don't have enough police officers. That's because you took our tax dollars and you bought all this technology to have cameras watch us 24/7. If you had hired a human being, you wouldn't have spent as much money. And unlike that camera, a human being has critical thinking skills and doesn't store all your private information illegally.
Yeah.
So we're wasting our money on having surveillance and machines collect our data, and sell it to third parties without our permission. We should just hire human being police officers who are qualified, and we should reform the police academy to hire the right people and to educate and train the right people to become police officers. But we don't do that. We waste money on more technology under the claim that it can save lives better than a human police officer. That's a lie. That's an absolute lie. It's all that generate money from the people. Another way of robbing the people. We're going to watch you 24/7 so we don't miss a chance to give you a citation. They're preying on the people. If they really weren't concerned about safety, they would have spent the money for human being police officers, and they would have never instituted all the surveillance material for a smart city.
Yeah. Well, the criminal justice system, sadly enough, is not about rehabilitation at all. It's about collecting more money. But we're going to have a commercial break. We'll be back, and we got to talk. Did we talk about Majorie Green Idiot Taylor yet?
Yeah, a little bit.
I know. We'll come back, but we're going to talk about when we come back a third-party candidate that's running for president. So after this commercial break, we'll talk about that.
Hello, I'm Richard Coleman, and I'm running for the office of Sheriff of Chatham County. And when I'm elected, I promise to inspect what I expect. Chatham County, it's time for a change, and that change is me, Richard Coleman.
Hi, I'm Katie Brewington, and I'm running for Magistrate Court Judge. Magistrate Court is often called the People's Court because people represent themselves or are pro se litigants. Magistrate Court handles civil claims up to $15,000, dispossessory proceedings, pre-warrant applications, and good behavior bonds. I'm a great candidate for judge because I have the experience, compassion, and drive to get the job done. I have been a probation officer, a criminal defense attorney, a solicitor, and a municipal court judge, and I will take all of that experience to get the job done. So remember, vote Katie Brewington May 21st for Magistrate.
The Democratic Party has no fundamental intention of speaking to the needs of poor people and working people. They are dominated by their corporate wing. They're dominated by the militarists when it comes to foreign policy, and that he and AOC and the others are going to be, in a certain sense, window dressing at worst, and at best, people to appeal to every 4 years. But the Democratic Party is beyond redemption at this point.
All right, so we got Cornel West running for president as a third party candidate, which I hate that label because I think parties outside of the majority are treated wrong, but that's another discussion. But let me read off of some of his platform pieces really quick, if I could, Clinton, before we get started on that. Let me pull it up really quick. I just had it in my phone. Okay, so Cornel West is running as the lead for the Green Party. And so just a few things. He's about economic justice, his platform. Economic justice, abolish poverty, stands out. End all tax loopholes for the rich. National jobs program to assure full employment to every person. Worker justice is a second piece. He talks about greater protections for workers who attempt to unionize. National free pre-K childcare. Then he goes on to the third piece, environmental justice. And then the fourth piece, health justice. And then the fifth, racial justice. 6, transformational justice. 7, voter justice. 8, education justice. So he has a real live, measurable platform. Donald Trump and a lot of people, Democrats, are going to be pissed with me. Donald Trump and Biden are just blowing smoke up our asses. So why are we not looking at this gentleman, Cornel West, as a legitimate contender?
Because it's the same reason we're not looking at Chase Oliver, who's running for president of the Libertarian Party. Chase Oliver wants to eliminate the majority of, regulations.
Yeah.
Wants to eliminate a lot of the abuses of eminent domain. More importantly, he wants to create real ballot access for, all states. So third and fourth party candidates can run in any election. He wants to do away with giving money away to everyone bar our own. And more importantly, he wants to stop Hop City, which is being built around Atlanta. Against all the protests of the local people. They were even ignored when they made an appeal against Hop City.
Yeah.
Oliver was at one of those events, you can look it up on YouTube. He talked about the problems with Hop City and all the problems and the Pandora boxes that went open. They're pretty much making an unofficial police military base.
Right.
In Atlanta without the permission of the local residents.
Right. I think that's the sad thing about everything. Everything is about money. So if I'm a third party candidate and I can't generate you views, NBC or CBS, then because I can't draw you the money because of the ratings, then you don't acknowledge me. If I can't give you a deal, person who owns a business or big company or big tech, then I'm not useful to you because I can't generate you any sales. Everything has become about money, which then gets in the way of those who don't have money.
Well,
right?
Here's the problem. They're looking at short-term green and they're ignoring long-term green. Now, an intelligent person in business wants long-term green because that uplifts the impoverished. Because you make decisions to make money in the long run. And if you make for the cash and grab, you increase your unemployment and homeless rate, shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Create more opportunities for everybody. True, you won't make as much money, but you'll make consistent money. And that way, there'll be less unemployment and less homeless people. But people want all they can get at this moment, and they end up doing everybody else wrong. And then they end up devaluing the money that they went for the cash and grab for. So by the time it's over, they didn't really give a head, but their money is not valuable.
Right.
Worst of all, sorry about that.
That's fine.
Not only is their money not valuable, they've increased the homeless rate and the unemployment rate.
But you know what's so brilliant? Talking about homeless, Cornel West has a piece in his platform where he talks about we're going to end our homelessness. Right? Brilliant plan. How does he answer? But the thing about that is he can answer. He can give you his vision.
Yeah.
How many cities? You know, we're located in Chatham County. We have multiple municipalities. How many cities in America have buildings that are not being used? Right? So take those buildings, situate them, and we house people who are homeless.
Look at all the public schools that we just built for $400 million, and hardly any of the students are attending now ever since COVID. Okay? We can sit there and create a voucher system on the city level where tax revenue going to the Chatham County public school system goes to the voucher system, and on the state level create school choice. And thereby, once people have a choice and there's no use for all the brand new buildings, we can turn them into homeless shelters.
I think again, it's gotten out of control, and I you know, right now, and I'll just share this because you know, right now I'm a Biden fan, but I'm looking very closely at Cornel West. I really like what he's talking about. I mean, he has some real ideas, and he's not afraid to like why is it when we allow Reaganism to just destroy our basic common sense of this stupid idea of trickle down. If I got $1 million, what makes you think I'm going to trickle it down and share it with other people? That was just dumb. I don't even know who believed that.
I think it started with Carter. I remember with Carter because Carter became obsessed with the environment.
Yeah.
He blew a bunch of money when what he should have done is why don't you just remove regulations and allow the private sector to work on solar and wind and all these new technologies, because they'll have the ability and the money to do so. But by pouring the taxpayers' dollars into it, you're not going to get the technology to accelerate. Instead, you're going to be complacent. When you have competition and privatization, private companies will work to outdo the other company for the technology, and it improves technology and makes it cheaper and more affordable.
Yeah, no, totally. By the way, all of our viewers who are watching, you can share this. Make sure you share it with other people you know and on your social media pages. But back to Cornel West, here's another piece he talks about, and you mentioned Cop City, but one of his platform objectives is to confiscate all military equipment from civilian police forces.
Yeah, because we don't need. Okay, but police are meant to be not a military. They're not meant to be the guard or a militia. Okay, they're supposed to protect and serve locally. Okay, if it gets beyond that, then you call in the guard. If it gets beyond that, then you call in the Fed. And if that collapses, then you form a militia. You don't turn the police into another military unit.
No, I agree. I think honestly, I agree with you. I'm even to the point where, and I talk a lot about this. The only time a person needs to be detained, or if we want to call it incarcerated, is for violent crimes. So that's raping, armed robbery, anything that injures another person, right? If a person is out here drinking and driving, of course, we need to pull them aside. As long as they don't hurt someone, let's pull them aside. You need to chill out. We'll sit you over here. But what we have created is a war on poverty using the criminal justice system. Now it's not even about rehabilitation. It's about how many years you get or how big the fine is. And we have stepped away from protecting and serving in the point that an officer is more interested in finding something wrong rather than making sure that they are protecting your interest in that moment. So, for example, if I'm walking down the street with a can of beer, more than likely I might get stopped for walking for public and indecent, having a beer, a can, whatever, for drinking and walking in the public. Are you really concerned about my safety or arresting me? So this protect and serve concept has gotten That doesn't even matter anymore.
They need to relabel it prey and seize instead of protect and serve. Because here's what they do. Let's say you're a dealer. You go to jail, you get out. Now you have all these fines to pay. And because you're a felon, you're going to have a hard time getting a job, number one.
Yeah.
When you're late on the fines, they tack on a late fee and they up the percentage.
Yeah.
So you get deeper in debt, and you're having trouble getting a job because you're a felon. What are you going to do? You're going to go back to committing crime in order to pay your fines.
Right.
Because they're growing.
Mm-hmm.
On top of all this, then you just have misuse of funds. Like, we need to get rid of programs that don't work. My beef is against the Senior Protection Agency. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied.
You're fine.
The Elderly Abuse Center and the Alzheimer's Association. All they have really accomplished is counseling, promotion, and very little of their revenue stream goes towards research and development for curing Alzheimer's, dementia, or reducing its effect.
Right.
Their mission statement was to protect the elderly who are suffering from this, thereby not just physically, but financially. But yet they don't have the jurisdiction to commit audits to make sure that you're not being abused financially. They can't really do an investigation, but they don't have any power. They'll go to the person accused of abusing the elderly person and question them. Do you really think you're going to tell the truth? And then they go to the person suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia and ask them, have you been abused? Do you think they're going to remember?
Well, and I didn't want me to respond.
Yeah,
and because I live, with a mom that lives with Alzheimer's. At a certain point, they can't even respond.
Yeah, I was a caregiver for years.
Yeah.
These programs don't work, and they get millions and millions of tax dollars. Let's abolish them. Now, I know everybody goes, oh, you can reform them. You can't reform something that doesn't have jurisdiction or enough revenue to really do anything.
Well, here's the thing. We rely on people to do things. Rely on the individuals that are in this situation. So what do I mean by that? You need somebody to disperse you need that person to manage and coordinate the funding and all of that. But I'm sitting here, watch this, Clinton. I'm sitting here with a mom who has Alzheimer's, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to get and understand if her benefits or Medicaid pays for in-home care you just get tired of it. So there's so much red tape, and who keeps getting funding are these low down, no good, do nothing programs and friends of politicians. And the people who really need it, who have been teachers and contributors to our society, suffer or go to nursing homes where they're a bunch of crap. And that's just, we don't treat our communities and our citizens the way we should, but we'll give damn Ukraine millions and trillions of dollars that we shouldn't even be involved in the first place.
Well, I was a caregiver for more than a decade to my grandma in this house.
Mm-hmm.
I had to deal with the Alzheimer's Association. I had to deal with the Elderly Abuse Center. I had to deal with the Senior Protection Agency.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time my grandmother passed on, I couldn't address my father, who was suffering from dementia, and he was taken advantage of. And they did a horrible job on their investigation. And that woman got away with, doing wrong. And the reason that I'm so adamantly against these programs that are being funded by the taxpayer is they don't do anything. I mean, they don't do anything. And the person dies, not only a sad death, but all their assets have been taken by the person that took advantage of them, or a group of people that took advantage of them. Sometimes family members, sometimes friends, but in the end, they lost. And putting them in jail 7 years after the person's dead, you're a little too late now.
And you got situations where, you go to jail 5 years. I got $1 million I stole from this person.
Yeah,
what's 5 years? But anyway, let's go back. We're going back to what you said with Cornel West. I think that's an issue that he has in the platform. But one thing I like about it, his is human, American-driven platform. I haven't seen it in a long time, but this is one that really sticks out to me. Cornel West proposes that we have a minimum wage of $80,000 for all United States public school teachers. Why are we not talking about this guy?
Well, I think we need to restructure the school system, privatize, school choice, whatever, and make it like we do athletes. They get better contracts according to their performance. I mean, what happens when an athlete does great? Another team offers them a contract for more money, correct? Why not do the same thing in the school system with teachers? The ones that have the best rates
Yeah.
get the bigger contracts after a year or two is up by another school. And to make sure there's no cheating, we just make sure that they're watched where they don't adjust the test scores to make themselves look good. But we have to do that in sports now. So I think that would be a more capitalistic way of handling it. Make them compete, and the best teachers get the best contracts. And who benefits? The children, K through 12.
Well, why don't we do it like corporate? I think my thing is this with educators. And, I work in education. I worked at universities and colleges for almost 25 years. Educators need to have a baseline raise annually. I mean, corporate folks get it. But my thing is, I like your idea, but my thing, I'm so against standardized testing. And even with assessment will capture some of the learning. And so my thing is, if the student learns, the teacher's successful, right? But learning is different for different individuals. So my thing is, let's look at cost of living raises, annual raises, and merit pay. So if you've been in the system 5 years versus 25 years, there needs to be some kind of we need to translate our congratulations in that way through the system. But again, everything is seen to be more corporate, money driven, and less about again, we put less emphasis on education in the last 15, 20 years.
Well, here's another problem. I'm sure you already know it. We got too much middle management in education.
Yeah.
Taking most of the money from the on-ground teachers,
yeah,
professors. And then we reward failure when
Yeah.
it comes to the professor and the teacher. The worse they do, the more we elevate them. We need to stop that. I'm not against teachers getting a raise. The reason I introduced the performance is to, how can I say, flush out the bad teachers.
Yeah.
And number two, I'm really against the teachers union. I think they do more to harm teachers than to help them. Most of the increases that they get from their negotiations never go to the on-ground teachers. They go to administrators, they go to principals, vice principals, janitors, cafeteria, everybody but the teachers. And that's why I don't like the teachers union.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think if we didn't have the teachers union, we have certain groups coming after them, and
I don't know that we have enough laws on the books that I actually don't think that would occur in the level that you think. It'll always occur with a union or without a union, but not as high as you think.
Yeah. So what else we got today? Let me go back to my list here. Oh, so in the state of Georgia, where insurance of all type is a cash grab and after citizens, it's John Ossendine, former insurance commissioner, who was caught up in some mess.
He pled guilty. He pled guilty to fraud.
Yeah.
And he doesn't understand. When you do something like that, you just make it worse for everybody else. Now there's going to be more regulation. There's going to be more watchdog activity. And who suffers? The customer, who can barely pay the premiums now. And the people on Medicare are going to be scrutinized even more than they already are. And it hurts everybody when someone commits fraud.
Yeah. And the thing was, again, is what all politicians do. It's the big brown bag theory. And so what I mean by brown bag is, let's say Clinton owns a major construction company, and I want to build warehouses and houses and all this stuff and have free reign to do what I want to do. I'll just go say, hey, Clinton, here's $10,000 every month of your life. It's private money. I'm going to give it to you in a brown bag. And you just make sure I get the laws and policies that I need to go ahead and clear the way. That's what happens. Happens right in the city of Savannah. We know it. But in this instance, what happened? One of John's buddies owns a medical place, location. Went to John, probably, here's a brown bag. John basically worked with this company got kickbacks up to the, and he only got 40 grand out of it. I mean, for God's sakes, if you're gonna get caught up for some real money.
Yeah, he got busted for a low amount. It wasn't even worth the risk.
No.
I don't understand what his thinking was. And this is the guy who ran for governor. He ran for governor. It's like you risk your livelihood and your freedom for this low of amount.
You couldn't have made a I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's like, at what point do you feel like this won't get found out? Somebody's either going to talk about it or somebody's going to a group is going to investigate it. But come on, man, it's like you are defrauding. Again, we're not thinking about the people. You're thinking more about what the money.
Well, think about this. Remember, well, I don't know I don't know if you remember this, but remember when rich kids would get caught stealing? Like, why? You're rich. You didn't have to. Why would you risk your freedom when you've already got money to buy it? People just sometimes do it for the thrill of getting caught.
Yeah. It blows my mind. But as we close out, I think, and I mean what I'm about to say, I think our congressional leaders, all of them, whatever party they're from, are complete idiots. You are sitting up here talking about TikTok.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but TikTok is redundant. That should not even be an issue. And here's why. We have more pressing issues that priority over TikTok.
Yeah.
Hey, TikTok's going to get what? The data of 25-year-old nitwit who have nothing better to do but dance in front of the camera. Let them have their data. I don't care. I doubt they even vote. So, I'm not saying there aren't people on TikTok that vote. Just the majority of TikTok users are not voters. There are people that do it.
And not even that. What gills me is United States, and it takes, I don't know if you ever travel internationally, but it takes traveling internationally to show you how stupid and overly narcissistic and overly confident that the United States can be. We, on the one hand, want to create robots and artificial intelligence that we know is going to lead us down a path of darkness, but we're going to ban TikTok because they're getting our data. Like, make it make sense.
Well, think about it. We complain about a breach of privacy, and then we turn Savannah into a smart city where you got devices and you got cameras everywhere, monitoring your heartbeat, your temperature, your tag on your car, your hair, your credit score, your medical history, which is a violation of the HIPAA Act. I go on and on and on.
Yeah.
So, and yet at the same time, the people that push for this will go, well, I think we should have a right to privacy. Really? Why did you vote for this? And it's really unnecessary to commit these laws. If a person voluntarily wants to give away their privacy through YouTube, TikTok, or social media, that's their business. It's when our government officials take away privacy without the people's consent. And when you take tax dollars and put surveillance everywhere, and you don't really tell people until you've already instituted, that's wrong.
Well, and the more you talk about it, the more I was thinking, is it really about being, a way of helping to solve crime, or is it really somebody has made a deal with big tech to say, again, none of these policies just come out the sky.
It's not
somebody's
money.
Benefiting and somebody's getting some money out of these things.
It's not money. The tech companies get tons of money, billions, okay?
Yeah.
Then the city or whatever local government gets to in more citation to generate money.
Right.
And technically, the only way you can beat any of these citations is if you call the surveillance camera to the stand to testify against you. And then if you're in a correct court of law, it's dismissed because it's not a human being. But, a lot of people don't do that, or a lot of people don't have an attorney that can pull that. It's just wrong. It's another way to extract money to pay for bills that they should have never created to begin with.
Yeah. And I think voters have got to be more in tune, and voters have got to be more educated than ever before. And I think that's a good way for us to close out today. Is as many people are watching, we've got to remind people to go out and do your own research.
Right. For it. Do your own research.
That's right, because if you go look at Cornel West and what was the gentleman's name you mentioned?
Chase Oliver.
Okay.
Chase Oliver.
I'm willing to say I would much rather see their work in progress versus a Biden or a Trump. We become so loyal to things like party or whatever our identity is that we don't stop and think that these people are doing. We have done the same thing for how many years? Let's try something else on. Let's try something new.
I think it's time we drop the identity politics and realize we all have to eat and we all need shelter. No matter whether you're gay, straight, black, white, handicapped, disabled, a veteran, a civilian, we all need food. We all need shelter. And when you vote in that time and when you place your decision on the ballot, make it about, can this person help me get food? Can this person help me get shelter? Can this person help me get a job? Can this person help me survive?
Right.
You don't really know what they stand for. You're voting for them and you think they're a good person. And they look like you and they have a great voice and a great presentation. You're voting for charisma and you're not voting for substance. And that's the problem. Stop listening to the charisma and the pizzazz and the wonderful speech. Listen to the content. What are they saying? Not how they say it. What's the content of what they say?
Right. So let me play this and then we'll come back to our conversation.
How do I find out about candidates? At election time, you may see advertising or information for candidates running in the election. These candidates have different opinions, so it's important to find out where they stand on the issues you care about. You can do that in a few different ways. Start by finding out who is running as a candidate in your area by going to the VEC website at vec.vic.gov.au. There you will find contact information for the candidates, such as their phone numbers, websites, and email addresses if they have provided them. It's a good idea to check out their websites if they have one, and email or call them to ask questions if you are still not clear on their views. Be aware that any advertising is professionally crafted, so you should look at independent news articles, interviews, debates, and editorials from sources you trust to get a more detailed picture of the candidate. In the end, you need to make your own decision. Remember, voting is how you get to have a say about what happens in Victoria. Make your vote count.
Okay, that was about Victoria, but that you can kind of transfer those thoughts to doing your local election. So going to the websites, Googling the candidates, going to their forums, whether they be electronic or in person, but take time to get to know the people you're voting for. And I'll use Trump as an example. Whether you like him or not, presidents pick your Supreme Court justices. And he picked 3, which then made the court go what? Very conservative. And so we got to start using broader thoughts around this.
And one passed away, I think. And what was it?
Well, no. The last 3 were picked by Trump. And they're still there. And they'll be there probably for another 30 years to influence the courts.
Well, it's always been that way. But I think one passed away, which is why it ended up being free and revenue.
Right.
But as far as international, I've always been to Mexico, and let me tell you, this is going to make a lot of people angry who believe in open borders. If I went there with no passport, straight to jail and deportation, I go. And we don't do that here. Mexico does enforce their immigration laws.
Yeah.
So when people talk about how unfair we're being to people across the border, try going to Mexico with no passport. See what happens to you.
Well, my thing is this. Honestly, again, until we can sweep around our own front door, we need to do what we need to do to protect Americans right now. So what do I mean by that? If you're not following the laws, you got to go back home. Wherever that means. That might be Canada. That might be China. I don't know. But if you're not following the law and you're crossing the border, you need to go back home. That's just the bottom line. I mean, we gotta. If that means if we're going to give Trump an escape, if we're going to give immigrants an escape, then I want an escape on every crime I commit.
What we need to do is protect our own civilians, provide for our own civilians. I know that we want to help people who are here brand new, whether they're legal or illegal, but we can't. we can't even help our own who were born right here. So I think we need to close the borders, work on the people born and raised here. Once we get a handle on that, reenact the border laws that we have been ignoring and reform the ones that didn't work beforehand. But right now, we need to take care of ourselves. We can't take care of the world. That's just the way it is.
I agree. I totally agree. All right. So we'll be back next Sunday at 6 o'clock. Great discussion today. And we'll tune in. We'll see you next week. I'm trying to find our any final comments from you.
Remember to vote, look into each candidate and follow their policies. And if they're a past incumbent, look at how they voted on other policies and see if that matches with what you want to benefit you. But remember, you have the power. You're you, the voter. You're the boss, not the candidate. They work for you. You don't work for them.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, great conversation today. Again, be an educated voter. Vote, and share the information and make sure your neighbors, friends, and all the people you know are doing the same thing. We'll see you next Sunday.
like this.